President William Ruto has fled the country due to the looming maandamano and demonstrations that are scheduled to happen on Monday. And according to the statement he wrote on his social media handle, President William Ruto said that he met with the United Nations Human Settlement Program Executive Director Anna Claudia Rosbach on the sidelines of the World Urban Forum in Baku, Azerbaijan. And there he said that he reaffirmed his shared commitment to advancing global action on sustainable urban development and affordable housing. This has come as a result of the hike of the fuel prices in Kenya, which has resulted to Kenyans resulting to demonstrations on Monday. Welcome to Kenya Lens Media, where we give you news updates as they break, and kindly, if you are new here, consider subscribing. Now, a nationwide fuel strike is set to begin at midnight after transport operators across Kenya announced a coordinated shutdown of rising fuel prices and also growing cost of living. The planned action now threatens to disrupt transport, business, and also trade and daily life across the country. Kenya faces the threat of major transport paralysis after the Transport Sector Alliance confirmed that no vehicles will operate once the nationwide fuel strike begins on Monday, May 18th, 2026. The decision was reached during a high-level consultative meeting held on Sunday, bringing together stakeholders from nearly every transport sector in the country. The alliance says that the strike is a protest against soaring fuel prices that have increased the transport costs, raising food prices, and also placed heavier financial pressure on ordinary Kenyans. If fully implemented, the shutdown could affect public transport, cargo delivery, tourism, school transport, and also business operations nationwide. The announcement marks a major escalation in growing frustration over the rising cost of fuel in Kenya, and in a joint statement released after Sunday's meeting, the Motorists Association of Kenya confirmed that the transport stakeholders had unanimously agreed to proceed with the strike. The alliance stated that no vehicles would move once the action takes effect at midnight. The strike is expected to involve a wide range of transport operators across the country, and among those expected to participate are matatu owners and operators, cargo and logistics transporters, ride-hailing, and also digital taxi operators, boda association, tourist transport providers, school transport operators, driving schools, and also private motorists. And according to the alliance, the unity among transport players is unprecedented, and leaders involved in the consultations described the planned action as one of the largest coordinated industrial protests in Kenya transport history. The alliance warned that movement in cities, towns, municipalities, and trading centers could be severely disrupted. For many Kenyans, the impact may be immediate and far-reaching. That public transport services are expected to slow down or stop entirely in some areas. Workers who rely on matatus and motorcycles to travel to their jobs may struggle to reach workplaces. Parents may face difficulties transporting children to school, and businesses that depend on road transport could experience delays in the movement of goods and supplies. The tourism sector may also be affected if tourist vehicles suspend operations. Cargo movement across the country could slow down significantly, affecting markets, retailers, and also supply chains. At the center of the dispute is the sharp increase in fuel prices following the latest review announced by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Transport operators say the latest fuel prices have pushed the operational costs beyond sustainable levels, and they argue that fuel has become too expensive not only for the transport businesses but also for ordinary citizens trying to survive in an already difficult economy. The alliance says rising fuel costs have triggered a chain of reaction across the country, and transport fares have gone up, food prices continue to rise, electricity costs remain high, and businesses are facing growing expenses linked to transportation and operations. According to the transport stakeholders, the burden is now being felt in homes, markets, schools, farms, and also workplaces. the alliance insists that the fuel crisis is no longer just a transport issue, and instead it says the problem now affects every Kenyan household. Farmers transporting produce to markets are paying more, retailers are facing increased delivery costs, and small businesses are struggling with higher operational expenses. Commuters are spending more money on transport each day, and families are being forced to adjust household budgets as the prices of basic goods continue to rise. Transport leaders say this growing economic pressure explains why transport or the support for the strike has expanded beyond transport operators alone. And the alliance claims that farmers, traders, workers, and consumers from different parts of the country have already expressed solidarity with the demonstrations. And as a result, ordinary citizens have now been urged to participate in peaceful protests within their local communities. Demonstrations are expected near homes, business premises, shopping centers, and transport hubs across the country. Transport leaders argue that a silence at this stage would amount to accepting high fuel prices, expensive transport fares, costly food, and also shrinking economy. The alliance has maintained that the planned protests will remain peaceful and constitutional. Organizers insist that the demonstrations are intended to pressure the government into addressing what they describe as worsening fuel crisis. The group also says the strike is likely to record near total participation because of the broad unity among transport stakeholders, and according to the alliance, support across different transport subsectors has given the strike what it describes as a 99% chances of success. That level of coordination reflects the seriousness of the concerns being raised by operators across the country. Transport leaders also criticized Kenya's fuel pricing structure. They argued that despite the country's economic difficulties, fuel prices in Kenya remain among the highest in the region. Some operators pointed to the countries such as Ethiopia as examples of states maintaining lower fuel prices despite facing logistical challenges linked to being landlocked. The looming shutdown now adds further pressure on the administration of President William Ruto, and the government has already faced increasing criticism over the rising cost of living, tax increases, and recent fuel prices or other price hikes. And over the past several months, concerns about economic hardship have continued to dominate public discussion across the country. For many citizens, fuel prices have become a symbol of wider economic strain, and every increase at the pump quickly affects transport fares, food distribution, electricity production, and the prices of essential goods. Economists also have long noted that fuel prices influence nearly every sector of the economy, and for ordinary wananchi, those effects are often felt immediately. A rise in fuel prices can mean higher bus fares in the morning and more expensive food at the market, increased electricity bills at home, and high operational costs for businesses trying to remain afloat. That reality explains why the planned strike is attracting attention far beyond the transport industry itself. Many Kenyans now see the demonstrations as a reflection of broader frustrations linked to economic pressure and the rising cost of daily living. At the transport hubs across major towns and cities, uncertainty is already beginning to grow. Commuters are anxiously waiting to see whether public transport services will remain available by morning. Business owners are assessing possible delays in deliveries and also operations, and schools, markets, and workplaces are preparing for possible disruptions if the shutdown proceeds fully. For the government, the challenge now lies in balancing economic policy with public concerns of affordability and also living standards. So far, transport leaders say they remain committed to proceeding with the strike unless urgent action is taken to address the fuel crisis. As midnight approaches, the country now waits to see whether dialogue, intervention, or compromise can prevent a nationwide standstill. But if the strike moves forward as planned, Kenya could wake up to an empty road, silent bus stages, delayed cargo deliveries, and sharp slowdown in economic activity. And once again, the greatest burden may fall on ordinary citizens already struggling with the weight of rising costs. Tonight, beyond the politics and the policy debates, millions of Kenyans are simply hoping for the tomorrow where the cost of moving, working, feeding families, and also surviving no longer feels out of reach. That is all for Kenya Lens Media for now. Kindly, if you're new here, consider subscribing, liking and sharing our content. Hit the notification bell so that you can be receiving notifications each and every time we bring you a new video.